Today's video is sponsored by Attain Insight Security 4X, the trusted solution to streamline, automate, and audit end-user security authorizations for Microsoft and Azure Active Directories, aka Entra ID. Visit them today at attaininsight.com. I'm sure you've all installed Microsoft 365 before. However, did you know that you can also customize it super simply for your users? In this episode, I'm going to show you exactly how it works. As Obi-Wan Kenobi once said, well, hello there, welcome to the channel, especially if this is your first visit. On today's episode, I thought I would talk about deploying Microsoft Office. Andy, hang on, all I need to do is click on the download button and I can install Microsoft Office. All true, my friend, but did you know that you can also customize it for your users as well? And the thing about this is it's hidden away, quite tricky to find. I thought I would take you through the step-by-step guide on how to customize a setup and deploy it for your users using Microsoft 365's inbuilt tools, and it's super easy to use. Now, if you haven't subscribed, then we would love to have you on board. So bump the like button and the subscribe button and come and join my great learning community. And if you want a little bit more, then check out my Patreon site here. And there are full-blown courses, monthly chats, and so much more. And as always, if you have any questions or comments from today's or any of my episodes, then of course just get those down below and I'll do my best for you. So I think without any further ado, let's jump in and take a look. So I'm kicking off here in Microsoft 365. And of course, if you want to deploy apps by the manual route, of course, you can just simply go into the Install Apps area here, click on the drop-down arrow and deploy your Microsoft 365 apps. But of course, you also have other options as well. So other options, of course, you might be an administrator. There may be different versions that you want to install. And here it will show you how many accounts that you can actually install Microsoft 365 on. Now, just to mention that there are a few little potential gotchas here. So if you pop over into the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, I'm going to click into Active Users. And here in my Active Users, you can see I've got a user here called Adele, who is licensed with Microsoft 365. So the first thing is, can I control the apps for this particular user? Well, yes, you can. If I scroll down, you can see all the different apps that this user has to use. Now, if you decided, hey, for some reason, there's a particular app that you don't want the user to have. So, for example, I don't want the user to use Microsoft Bookings. You can just simply take the checkbox out and the user will not see that app. Okay, so that's the first thing. So next I'm going to come down here into the settings page, and if you click on the drop down arrow and come into organization settings, we have a number of different settings here. And there are two very important settings here as well that you probably want to take a look at. The first one is the 365 installation options, followed by Microsoft 365 on the web. And these are super important. So in terms of the installation options, you can see this talks about the feature updates. So the feature updates are those nice new shiny features that you might want to release to your users. So you can see here, as soon as they're available, this is the current channel, this is the default channel, those updates will come. Now, if you are a large organization and, for example, you're on an enterprise platform, you might just want to simply push these out on a monthly date. So again, you've got the option as soon as they're available, or you can install them. Now, you can also join the Office 365 Insider program there as well. So definitely check that out. Now, other features that we got here, so do I want my users to use Skype for Business? Well, of course, most people now use Microsoft Teams. But if you don't want those, again, you can deselect these and then users won't be able to gain access to these apps. So again, super simple. Now, what next? So the next thing then is, Andy, I want to customize Microsoft 365. How on earth do I do it? Well, a great question, you may ask. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come down to the admin centers, and I'm going to come down to this area here where it says all admin centers. And in here, you have got a number of somewhat kind of semi-hidden admin centers, and one particular important one here, this is the Office configuration. So I'm going to click into the Office configuration tool, and this is the Microsoft 365 apps admin center. And basically we have a number of options. You've got Office policies and you've got device configurations here. So in here, this is designed for fairly medium to large size organizations, and you want to deploy Microsoft Office to your users. Now, in traditional IT, i.e. if you were deploying an operating system and a piece of software to, let's say, a bare metal machine, you would need to image that machine. Well, we don't need to do that because Microsoft Office is already available to our users. So can I customize that? And the answer is absolutely you can. So to do that, we basically come to this Microsoft 365 Cloud Policy. And in here, this is somewhat similar to group policy, if any of you remember the days of Windows Server and Active Directory. So to get started, I'm going to simply click on Create, and it asks me, hey, do you want to create a policy name? So I'm going to call this my Oslo policy. And again, I could put in a little description here, and I'm going to click on Next. Now, in here, it says, okay, who do you want to create the policy for? So do you want to create it for all users, a specific set of users, groups, for example? Alternatively, you could create a policy for anonymous guests. So this could include guests and so on. For this example, I'm going to choose groups, and I'm going to click on Add a Group. And again, I just need to put in the first three letters of the group that I'm looking for, and I'm going to come in here into Oslo HQ, and I'm going to save that. Now, of course, again, I could go back into the policy again. I could add in another group as well. So again, just to show you that you can go back in, again, I can add a second group here, and you can see I can add that group in as well. And again, you can remove the groups and so on. So in terms of the settings, you can see that we have quite a few different settings here. So it shows you the name of the policy, and it shows you the platform that that policy will run on, as well as the application itself. And it shows me that the status at the moment, that setting is not configured. So one of the first things you're going to want to do is you're going to want to filter a new policy. And I'm going to call this policy Oslo 1, and I'm going to set this for Windows. And I can scroll down and I can choose, okay, which applications do I want to use? For the purpose of this little demo, I'm just going to choose Microsoft Word. And it asks you for the status. Now, in essence, what these policies are, they are settings in the registry. So these are both users and computer settings in the registry. So I'm going to say I'm looking for the settings that are not configured at the moment. And you could include the security baseline. If I don't filter, it will just give me all of these different settings. So as I click on and switch the filter, you can see that the filter has come in, and I can now look through these various settings. So if you want to add certain features or remove certain features, again, you can do that. So again, I can specify, okay, do you want to adjust the paragraph spacing? Do I want to change any of the settings here? Do I want to allow background saves? Now, this is the automatic saving feature. Now, again, you may not want that. So again, I can switch this feature on, and that is now applied. Other things that you can also do, do I want to configure automated bulleted list? Do you want to switch that feature on or off? Do you want to switch on the auto space feature? Do you want to enable the print in background feature? And again, just click on enable. Now, of course, there's always a case of trial and error. So again, I'm just going to click on apply there. I'm sure you get the idea. So you go through those various policies and you can see there's quite a few of them there as well. Once you've gone through the policies, and again, you can do lots and lots of filters, you simply click on to next, and I have now configured that policy. So the next thing then is, obviously we've given the policy a name. You can go in and describe the description. Then of course we're filtering it by user, by group, and of course it's going to that Oslo Finance group. And again, if you want to change that, you can easily change that, and that's it. So I'm now clicking on create, and that's now creating my policy configuration for Microsoft Office for all of my Windows users in that particular group. Now, the one thing that you'll notice is that you'll also get a priority number. So if I now go ahead and create another, let's say another policy here. So I'll just make this super simple. So I'll click on next, and I'm going to say this is now for my Oslo. So, and who do you want it to be? This time I'll say this is for Oslo Finance. So I'm going to click on save, and I'll click on next. And again, you get the same options again. I am just going to say, I'll choose this one just to save time. So clear cache on close. So I'm going to enable this policy. Now, please note that you also get details of what the policy is. And also I can click on show more and get a really kind of detailed piece of information on what the policy is. And it's really important to understand that, because the last thing that you want to do is cause issues for your users. So again, I'm just going to click on apply. I will scroll down, and once this policy is done, I'll just click on next, and again just do a quick review, and that policy is now done. And this will now affect all of those users in the group. Now, the fact is, we don't need to download Microsoft Office because it's already there. Now, one thing is, you'll notice that we have a priority. So you can change the priority if you wanted to. So again, typically it means that this would get priority first, and then this policy would get priority. Now, I'm often asked, Andy, if you've got two policies for, let's say, the same group of users, which one would take precedence? It would be the most restrictive policy. Okay, so if this particular policy has a more restrictive setting, it would be this one that's the more restrictive option. So the other thing that you can do, of course, is export those settings there as well. So there you have it, just very, very easy and configuring those policy configurations there. So what are some of the other options here? Well, we also have a device configuration. And what this is if you've got kind of physical laptops and you're in the IT department, you want to download a configuration, and you want to perhaps use a setup file for this. So again, for this, you can create a configuration file. Now, in the old days, we used to configure this by text files, and it was really quite complicated. But here, this is like super simple. So again, you can see it's saying, okay, it will essentially create this configuration. So I can call this my Oslo 1 XML, and this is essentially an answer file. So for this, a downloadable copy of Microsoft Office. And now what we would do is we would say, okay, what platform are you going to deploy this? A 32-bit or 64-bit? Which products do you want to install? And we have the different versions of Microsoft Office here. So I could say, I want to bring in the Office apps for enterprise. Do you want to include Visio? Do you want to include Project? Any additional products that you might want to bring in? And then you, again, which channel do you want to choose? So again, this is for deployment rings within your organization. So again, I'm just going to choose the current channel. Which version do you want to download? So again, I'm choosing the latest options. And again, you can select the products here that you want to include for your users. Just a quick cheeky note here, by the way, OneDrive for Business used to be known as Groove, if any old timers are out there. Do you want to include background servicing search, for example? And again, you can go in here, you can choose the primary language. So again, you can choose your language here. So for example, I choose English. You can select any additional languages as well as any other proofing tools as well. So I can then click next, and it then says, okay, what are the installation options? So I want to do an Office content delivery network, or perhaps you might want to have a local source. So you've downloaded it locally, and in this case, I'm just going to accept the content delivery network. You can also, if you're using Intune, aka Endpoint Config Manager, you can also use that as well. Again, I can just click on next here, and then we can choose, okay, automatically check for updates. Do you want to select any upgrade options? So again, do you want to uninstall any kind of previous versions and so on? And then finally, we've got license and activation. So the EULA, the end user license agreement, again, I can automatically accept that on behalf of the user. You can also put in the product key if you've got product activation. So again, this is more if you've got, for example, a licensed version, a physical copy of Office Pro Plus. Again, do you want to have user-based licensing, or is this perhaps a shared computer? For example, in a library or in a call center or something like that. Again, you can also, I just click next here, and then finally anything else that you want to provide. So again, you can put this on the company property. So again, I'll just call this Oslo Finance, and this will appear on the image. And again, I can put in a little description there and click on next. And that's it. So off it goes, and it will now create that file for me, and I can now click on done. And of course, there's my answer file. I can now download that and use that to deploy Microsoft Office. Now, as you start downloading, or as your users start downloading Office, we also have Apps Health, and it shows me that, for example, everything's healthy, everything's being downloaded okay, and you've got the metrics. I don't have any devices here at the moment, but for example, have any users discovered any issues with an application? What's the channel metrics? You've got things like OneDrive sync help, or health rather, I should say, and of course you've got the overall service health as well. In terms of inventory, it's showing you what software you've got, so how many copies of Microsoft Office have been deployed. And again, you've also got Learn More. This is all the documentation, the training material. It will take you through to the Microsoft Tech community. So if you want to learn this, this is absolutely fantastic to set this up. Finally, we've got the setup key here. So you can, you've got a tenant key here. And again, if you need to generate a new key, although I never have, to be honest, you have that there. So there you have it, a very quick look at getting started on deploying apps in Microsoft 365. So there you have it, deploying Microsoft 365 apps. I bet you didn't know that. Hey, listen, I really hope that you found that useful, and if you did, bump the like button. It does make a difference to the channel, and if you have any comments or questions, as always, just get those down below. That's it for this time. I really hope you enjoyed it and that you'll come back and see us next time. You take care. I'll see you soon. Hey, thanks so much for dropping by today. Here's a couple of videos that you may enjoy, and while you're here, go ahead, click on the subscribe button and you won't miss out.